Story time. You guys up for a story? All right, good deal. I'm going to try to tune and talk at the same time. We'll see how that goes. Off to a poor start. So my grandpa, my dad's right over there, his dad, was a World War II vet. Fought in the infantry in the Pacific for a lot of the war. I don't know how much of it, but sorry, you need my mic. I don't know how much of it he's over there for, but the bulk of it. He saw a lot, and he never told. He never said, like a lot of war vets, he never said much about it. My grandma, of course, I grew up here in Chippewa, and all my family's always been in Chippewa, and my grandma said that she was married to him 54 years before he died. They met and married after he got out of the war. My grandma said that my grandpa never told him anything about the war except what they ate, how they slept. That was about it. Nobody knows much. But he died on April 26, 2001. And if you go over to down on is it High Street over here in the corner of that, and maybe it's Spring, or is it Central? Maybe it's right down here. There's a big flagpole and a big Liney's thing, and there's a plaque that's got my grandpa's name and date, Howard Marshall Gilbertson. Anyway, he I found some photos. We found some photos when my grandma died. We went through, like the deep attic stuff that usually you didn't go into. And we found some photos, and the best we know is that they're pictures that my grandpa took in the war. And they're all these cool old sepia tone things. They're kind of cracked and folded in places. Really beautiful. So I got a whole cigar box full of them. And that's the best account we ever got of his experience there. But whatever he saw, it wasn't good. I mean, you can assume that, but it took its toll on him. Anyway, he was real close with his father, and he got mail being what it was back then. He got the second letter first that said, from his brother, that said, since Dad's been gone, since Dad died, Mom's doing a lot better. And he had no preparation for this, and he was really close with his dad. So so that kind of messed him up. And another thing we found when we were going through my grandma's attic was the original letter he was supposed to get. Very faded pencil. You had to be careful with the paper because the creases are starting to tear and everything. But it was just this really elegant, beautiful letter that I don't know when he ever got it, if he ever did, while he was over there anyway. That told him that, hey, I remember something in there like, hey, I remember you and Dad always wanted to go chasing muskies up and down the Chippewa when you got back. It was one of the things that was keeping you going. But you're not going to be able to do that now. And it just broke his heart. So my dad always kind of told me that, like, I'd say, what's the story with Grandpa? And he says, well, your grandpa lost his dad and never got to say goodbye, and he's always been looking forward to the day that he goes home and sees him. My grandpa was a good grandpa, a good grandfather in every way. Couldn't have asked for better. But there was a sadness that was always there. I remember I was working on the shipping dock at Walmart when I got the call, and I kind of knew what it was because we knew that Grandpa wasn't doing well, and you didn't get calls on the shipping dock at Walmart, and the way my dad said it was Grandpa's fishing with his dad finally, and so that was sweet. But yeah, we knew that he was dying toward the end, and I kind of wondered what it was like after, knowing that death is finally here for you after eluding it so much and seeing so much of it in the war and having that be the story that you carried with you, your main story that you carried with you for your whole life. And so So sometime after his death, I wrote this song. It's just called The Ballad of Howard Marshall. These lines on my face speak not of my age. No, they're just the cracks starting to show. But there was a time as strong as these pines, but the forest so long ago was laid bare. Now don't tell me about pride, 'cause this is the part. Yeah, this is the part. The part we all fear. My old man died when I was away. Now I'd give my life just to speak with him again, but I don't know what I'd say. Meanwhile, I watched comrades were slain. It's funny what the bullets that miss your head will do to your brain. So this is a part. Yeah, this is a part. We all fear. Not fear death, 'cause I've seen him before. Run across him in the jungle, oh, when I was just a kid, and I left him on the jungle floor. But he touched my hip, so I walk with this limp. Now when people call my name, I forget to look up. Hell, I don't know who I am. But he said he'd be back, that he'd bide his time. Now I'm gonna lose this second round, but I think I've earned that right.
Still this is the part. Yeah, this is the part. Oh, this is the part. Yeah, this is the part. The part we all fear. Part we all fear. Oh, do not fear. We'll have no
Thank you. How are we doing for set one?
We're pretty good. You want to?
So my very first question, what's the best question you've ever been asked in an interview? Second question, how did you answer it?
You're very good at this.
I'm super good at this.
You're very good at this. That was probably the best one right there.
Thank you.
I don't have a very long memory, so that's the one I remember the most anyway. That's the one that left the biggest impression.
Okay, second question just for me. This is an Unplugged series. Obviously, we take some liberties with that. You have a really cool pedal board going on right here. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what you're doing with the pedal board as you're playing?
I'm spending money at Pedals Music on Barstow Street in Eau Claire.
Awesome.
The first thing is a DI here. There's some EQs and stuff on that, a tuner and a boost. The second, then I have it run into a compressor. That just kind of squeezes the sound a little bit, gives a little more juice out of it. There is also an overdrive on this compressor if I want to use it. From there, I just have it into a volume pedal, so I can swell the volume up or down. I could just back it off if I think the sound man's getting a little hot, or give myself a little more. Then I have it run over to this guy over here, which is a tremolo. That's that that you hear.
Yeah.
This is a delay that I don't love enough. It's a kind of a secondary delay because we'll get to my primary delay in a second. But then I have my two favorite pedals, and this one here is the Electro Harmonix Oceans 11 reverb pedal. I love it. From here, I have it run over to a sustain pedal, and so I have infinite sustain as long as I hang on to that pedal on the reverb, not on the note, but on the effect afterwards. So you can hang on to a chord behind you a little bit and play some other stuff over it.
Almost like people do with a piano.
Yeah, it's a sustain pedal, but on a piano, it's sustaining the note itself. This is sustaining just like the effect, the reverb, like the on it.
Yeah. Very cool.
And then this is my my favorite pedal I've ever owned. This is the Electro Harmonix Canyon delay. This thing does a lot, but I love that there's a digital reproduction of a like an old school tape delay in there, and that's my favorite.
That's wonderful.
That's the setup.
I don't have a good segue from question one to question two. But like,
go for it.
But here it is. So when I first heard your music, you were very much into the finger picking.
Yeah, the fingerstyle stuff.
And it was amazing. It's amazing. And that was like a lot of the original, even the Converge Radio makeup.
Mm-hmm.
How did you approach, and this sounds like such a simplistic question, but how did you approach layering your vocals on? Because you have really, really deep vocals, too.
Thanks. I started listening to more and more singer-songwriter stuff and really started paying attention to guys like Bill Maloney was a big one, Joe Pug, Josh Ritter, a lot of Tom Waits. Then I got stuck in a FedEx truck for sometimes 12 hours a day with no radio, and you don't sit and write and compose instrumental pieces when you do that. But I did have a little notebook, and I could sit and write down little lyrical ideas. Just too much time to think. That's about what did it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And then the last question, and Joe brought it up original or in his talk. You do have a religious background.
Yep.
How much of that comes into your music?
A lot of it. It's kind of everywhere I work. I'm the DRE, or Director of Religious Education, also known as the Director of Religious Everything for St. Charles and St. Peter's here in town for 2 Catholic parishes. I grew up Catholic, graduated from McDonald Catholic High School in '96. Then sometime around my sophomore year, I started going to an evangelical church, and I popped around a number of churches for about a decade and a half doing that and learned a lot. It was beautiful. I love it. But eventually, through various circumstances, I found myself married with kids in a Catholic church, and I've been working there, I think, 7 years now, full time. But I think religion at its lower levels, all religion tends to become, and unfortunately, I think this makes up the most of our religious people just because of the numbers. I think it's sometimes a little more than kind of like a superstitious, tribalistic moralism. And we walk in, as Dylan said, with God on our side, doing too many things. But at its higher levels, I think it tells the truth about the world, and that there's a lot of invisible realities that are equally as beautiful as a lot of the physical stuff that we see in the world. So it's the marriage of those two things. Music is an invisible reality that I try to make beautiful.
I love it. I feel like I just had a conversation with C.S. Lewis there.
Yeah. I'm more Chesterton than Lewis.
Oh,
but yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess before we conclude this, I mean, you're a Chippewa person, so do you have anything that you want on the record in front of this room and these cameras to go out?
I love Chippewa. I've tried to escape a couple of times. My wife and I moved up to Canada for a while. We tried even getting out of the country, and it didn't take. And then we ended up back here, and then we tried one more dash through the door, and we lived in Iowa for a little while, and we did not like it, and we moved back here.
Well, the beer's no good in either of those places.
This is true.
Well, Greg, thank you. I am very much looking forward to your second set. Do you need a minute or two?
No, not unless they do.
Okay, well then let's mute my mic, and then I'll plug it back into your guitar.
Thanks.
And then I'll go sit back with the crowd. Is that okay?
Sounds great. Oh, the last 18 months, 24 months or so. And Chippewa's had some sad stories. After the Girl Scout accident last year, which was November 3rd, which happened on my wife's 40th birthday, that was happening. Jamie Kloss was still missing. There was a woman in Hallie doping her kids up. A little 10-year-old girl was, a little infant was hurt. Was killed by a 10-year-old girl up in Tilden. And it just seemed like it was piling on us for a while there. Now we've had a little bit of a break here where we finally get to complain about things like snow again. But I don't like managers and publicists that I've worked with are always on me to be more present on social media, but I kind of hate it. So if you ever see a social media post from me that looks entirely forced and out of character for me, it's 100% is. But I remember I was over at Holy Ghost Church, and sometimes one of the best things in the world is to sit in an empty church at night and play piano, because churches, right? So I was doing that, and all this stuff was kind of weighing on me, and so I ended up making just a short little. I said kind of like what I'm saying here, just that it's tough in Chippewa right now. And I played this song I'm about to play. It's a Bill Maloney song that I hope to record in the next record. But kind of played that in all you people saw it. All I did was post it to my personal Facebook page, not the fan page, not YouTube, anywhere. And it went around in 2 weeks or something. It had 13,000 views, and that's nearly the population of Chippewa. So it kind of, one thing that's nice about music is I think it gives voice to the things that are really, really hard to give voice to, especially during times like that. Anyway, this is a song. It's called "Losing It." This is by Bill Maloney. He kind of made some waves in the '90s with an outfit called Vigilantes of Love, and he was one of the guys who really got me. When Scott was asking there, like that's one of the guys that really got me paying attention to the poetry and the lyricism that can go into songwriting. And he's kind of one of the guys I've always been chasing. But turned out that he's kind of become a friend in the last 10 years or something. We've gotten to know each other really well. Well, not really well, but we've become acquainted and had some pretty incredible conversations together. So anyway, this is a song called "Losing It."
Climb the tower with me tonight. We'll speak along with the wind. Let your laughter drown my sorrow. Let an age of hope begin. Loyalty is not a word heard around these parts these days. Love gets drowned in a pool of tears that I'm drunk on anyway. So hold me tight, God, I'm losing it. Hold me tight, I'm confusing it. Job lost all his daughters, and Job lost all his sons. All his crops and his animals, each and every one. But still I know, whom I believe in, and persuaded that he is able to keep track of all the cards I've laid out on my table. So hold me tight, God, I'm losing it. Hold me tight, I'm confusing it. Hold me tight, I'm using it, yeah, abusing it, yeah. So hold me tight, God, I'm losing it. Whoa, please don't get upset. You know these means of grace have never failed me yet. No, see the harvest getting ripe. There's a wine press almost full. Michael, swing your sickle wide and take off both your shoes. You sold me a wealth of pleasure with a dime store full of pain. Stuff I thought was jewelry, well, it turned out to be chains. So hold me tight, God, I'm losing it. And hold me tight, I'm confusing it. And hold me tight, I'm abusing it, yeah. I'm using it, yeah. So hold me tight, God, I'm losing it. I'm losing it now. I'm losing it.
This is another kind of a sad Chippewa story, but this is a song for a little boy that didn't make it past 12 named Levi Stucco.